Hello and welcome to Python Fundamentals. In this course, we learn the underpinning Python programming skills, preparing for our journey towards mastering the Django Framework and the Python programming language. This tutorial is part of a series of tutorials. You can find the link to the whole playlist in the video description. This tutorial is from our Python Programming Fundamentals for Django Developers course, which you can find and purchase on Udemy. You will find all the latest and updated tutorials, as well as resources and assessments to help accelerate your learning of the subject. The link to the course, which will always provide the best price, can be found in the video description. In the previous tutorial, we built the URL. We know that URLs are connected to views, so what we need to do now is write a new view. This is where we left off in the previous tutorial. We created a new URL inside the new apps folder here, and we then imported the views so that we could then access or connect a view to a particular URL. So let's now go into our views and build our first view. We can build a view as a function or as a class. We will learn about functions and classes later on in this course, so let's stick with functions for now because it's a little bit easier to understand. So a Python function is built by utilizing the def keyword, and then we need to name the function. So let's just give this a name. I'm going to name this function home, and then in order for this to work correctly, I need to pass in the data about the request. Okay, so here we have the parentheses, the word request, and then at the end here we have a colon. Okay, so that starts off my view. So what I can do now, for example, is use the keyword pass. So that will allow me to have basically a temporary piece of code to allow this code to maybe function. So if I run the server now, you can see that we do have an invalid syntax because what we need to do now is just connect this view to the URLs. So now that we have a view, we've imported the views file in here. So we have access now to this view and we can now reference it here. So views dot and then home. That's the name of the view. And you can see that the server does indeed start. So let's just make this functional for now. So in order to actually send something back to a browser, we're going to need to create some sort of HTTP response. So the browser creates a HTTP request and it's expecting a HTTP response from the server. So we couldn't just, for example, return a string like this because it's in the wrong format. So what we need to do is we need to create a HTTP response. So we can bring in some resources from Django. So this is the from Django.http. Let's import the HTTP response. So this is a tool that we can utilize to actually build a HTTP response. So let's return HTTP response, hello world. Okay, so what's going to happen now then, in short, is that the user is going to send a request to our server. Now, if they request the home page, Django is going to capture that request, and then look for a match in the URLs. So in the core URLs, it's going to match first that. No, it doesn't match that. Does it match this? Yes, it's the home page. So this refers to the root directory here. So now this is started. So we bring in these URLs from the test app. So these get started, we make a match. Is there a match? Yes, there is a match. We have a match right here. So what happens now, we can start the view here that we created. That view was the home view, the home function. So that starts this function here. Now we pass in the request in case we need it for some particular reason, and then we return something to the user. So we return a HTTP response with just some text. So let's try this out. Now, if you haven't already got the server started, just go ahead and run the server. Remember, if you are on Windows, you're going to need to type in pi space manage.py run server. So let's go back to our browser. Let's type in our home page, give that a go, and you can now see that we return hello world. If this hasn't worked for you, there may be a number of different reasons. So be sure to make sure that you have, here I've used a tab. So it's important in Python, which we'll learn again later in this course. This white space is very important. So make sure that is the case. Just double check all the code here, that it matches up exactly the same as what you can see here. But let me just take you through this. So in the URL core, this is what you should have in the URL core. Let me just get rid of all this. We don't need that. So that's the URL file in the core. So you can pause and just double check. Then we move over to the URLs in the new app here. So just double check everything exactly the same. And then finally in the views in the new app here, we have a new function here. And you can see that we're returning response, hello world. Now we've got so far into the course, I have left the code, the final code, in pretty much every single tutorial. So you can access in the tutorial resources and download the final code and inspect for yourself.